At 5:23 p.m. local time, a U.S. Air Force F-16 from the 421st Fighter Squadron was providing top cover for a U.S. naval task force as it steamed along the coast of Yemen. While the patrol had been relatively quiet so far, this would all change in a matter of seconds. Unknown to the F-16 pilot, a Houthi battery near Houthi had the aircraft in its sights and let loose a missile. With a 23 kilometers maximum effective range and a top speed of 2.8 times the speed of sound, the pilot has just seconds to react. Thankfully, the F-16 comes equipped with a variety of electronic countermeasures that turned this deadly missile into a harmless tutor. Located on the aircraft nose is its SANA PG-83 radar, which serves as its first line of defense against the Houthi missile attack. After detecting the SA-6 at a range of 42 kilometers, the pilot began a steep dive to take the aircraft from 30,000 feet to 15,000 feet. This maneuver is necessary because the SA-6 can track its target. The SA-6 is what's known as a semi-active missile. This means Thethify ground radars must illuminate the target with enough energy to create a fire control situation. Once airborne, the SA-6 receives this fire control data as it screams towards the target. Once it gets close, its internal seeker on its warhead activates to ping for the F-16 in its final few seconds of flight. By performing this steep dive, the pilot hoped to break the fire control solution off the incoming SA-6, but at WASN (10 OUGH) with the radar's ability to scan forfeitorized targets with a 5 meters squarried radar cross-section up to 470 kilometers, their radar was able to spot more incoming SA-6 missiles. The pilot continued evasive maneuvers with just 18 seconds to react to this barrage. However, these erratic turns wreak havoc on the radar's ability to track targets. Although the system can track up to 20 targets at once, their radar's effectiveness in seeing targets at 60 off-bore sight decreases to just 47%. With all the erratic turns the pilot is making, the F-16 is effectively blind to some of the incoming missiles. That's where its next system comes into play. If you look here at each pylon on the wings, you'll see this device. This is called the Pylon Integrated Dispensing System, or PIDs, and it's their next step in breaking the chain of disengagement. While each system weighs 19 kilograms and decreases each F-16 loadout by 3%, this trade-off is well worth it because of what it can do. Equipped with 6 enhanced AR-60V2 ultraviolet sensor sight on it, each system provides 360 degrees of spherical coverage that can detect missile launches at ranges of up to 10 kilometers. These systems can deploy infrared flares and radio frequency half bundles. When the PIDs detected incoming SA-6 missiles, it deployed 1 to MJU-50B flares and 24 RR-180 chaff bundles that created a half-a-kilometer IRRF decoy cloud. However, this was not enough to shake lock of the incoming missiles. So, the pilot had one list. Located here on the belly of the aircraft is an MLQ-184 jamming pod. The pod can jam threats across the 2 to 20 GHz range using digital RF memory technology. This is more than enough to counter the SA-6's 6 to 8 GHz fire control radar. As soon as the pilot kicked this on, the pod broke the incoming missile's connection with its ground control site. This reduced the SA-6's accuracy by 70%, forcing the remaining missiles into a ballistic trajectory that flew harmlessly past the aircraft. However, despite this defeat, the Houthis were far from done today. Just 44 minutes later, at 6:07 p.m. local time, a US MQ-9 Reaper drone from Shabelle Airfield in Djibouti was conducting a routine reconnaissance flight about 50 miles northeast of Hedda. The drone was monitoring Houthi supplicant voice as they reinforced in enemy positions near the town. When Houthi gunners, frustrated at not being able to shoot down the F-16, decided to try their luck again. Although less advanced than the F-16, its Pandora missile warning system detected another Houthi SA-6 launch. Within 08 seconds of detection, they ordered its Cyanelli for 7 dispenser to launch countermeasures as the drone climbed above 15,000 feet to keep all the incoming missiles out of the drone's 30 feet out directly below the air. As the Reaper continued to climb, its AL countermeasure system launched 8 flares in 4 seconds. This created a 300 square meter chaff cloud to confuse the incoming missiles. However, This system is not unlimited with a max load of 60 MJU 60B flares and 120 RR 180 chaff bundles. This is sufficient for 12 engagements per SORTY. However, once the Reaper expends 75% of this inventory, it has to abort the mission and return to base. How the operator determines whether to use their countermeasures or not is with the help of its AR-69 radar. The AR-069 radar warning griever can monitor frequencies from 5 to 20 GHz. This enables it to detect SA-6 radar emissions at around 200 km with a known degree of azimuth accuracy. With this enabled, the Reaper can respond to Houthi missile launches within 2 seconds. Because of this, the drone operators are able to deploy an countermeasures in time to avoid a direct hit. But the Reaper didn't make it through unscathed. After landing back at the base, maintainers discovered that several of the SA-6's 12,000 steel pellets had punctured its right wing. Luckily, the drone was able to fly against a cliff. Although these missile launches may seem routine, they were. But this strike was the first time the Houthis have shot at a manned aircraft in this conflict. How the US will respond to this unprovoked attacks set new precedent in this ever-intensifying conflict. In the immediate aftermath of these attacks, both U.S. Central Command and the White House were shocked by the recent daylight attack on U.S. forces. President Trump soon decided that nothing less than an immediate, devastating response was warranted. Within 8 hours of the attack, the guided missile destroyer, the USS Spruant, received orders to steam closer to the Yemen coast. Once in its launch box, the crew received encrypted launch orders from Central Command to strike. While normally Tomahawk missiles would be used for this, the Navy opted for a rather creative measure. Every DDG carries a mixed loadout of Tomahawk SAMA 2 segundos, ASA-SAMA, anti-Oberina rockets, and SM-6 missiles inside their Vela cells. BMD-capable ships also carry SM-3S. The reason for this party mix of missiles is so a surface ship can conduct offensive and defensive strikes against a variety of threats. So, while the Navy chose the SM-6's interesting base, it sends a very clear message. The SM-6 is one of the Navy's most advanced air defense missiles. Secondly, to the SM-3, destroyers typically preserve these missiles for the most dangerous threats. Since the missile cantilever, a 1,500 kg explosive warhead, ate an impressive 3.5 times the speed of sound. But while this was designed to be an air defense missile, in recent years Navy has repurposed it to also be a ground strike missile. While the Tomahawk has a longer range than the SM-6 at around 1,500 meters, the SM-6 is much faster. With that greater speed, it's much harder to shoot down, and is an essential stopgap until the Navy strike missile comes fully online. Because of that, the Navy modified the SM-6 turret in surface mode as well. However, despite having this capability for years, the Navy hasn't publicly fired one of these missiles this way. While the Navy chose the SM-6 Houthis, is because the target they were going after was moving. According to satellite imagery, the SA-6 launcher and its accompanying IS-91 radar were still in Houthi, but with the launcher having a top speed of around 34 mph, the launcher called be hundreds of miles away by that time the order came to strike. This meant time was of the essence, and there wasn't a second to spare. After getting the firing order from SETCOM, the Spruce crew made best speed for the launch basket in Thessalon Red Sea. As this was going on, the combat watchstanders had less than 30 minutes to create, route, and approve a firing plan. That's because a missile snat just fly in a straight line. That would be incredibly easy to shoot down. Rather, the crew must prepare SMIMs up to dozens of waypoints to get the missile to the first pre-planned waypoint. Once it reaches their classified mission library takes overhand, sends the missile careening toward. With a flash of light, 2 SM-6 shroud out of the VLS cells, 8 approximately 3:45 a.m. local time. With just several hundred miles to go, it would take roughly 6 minutes before the SM-6s reached their target. All Houthis have built up a robust air defense network. This meant nothing for the SM-6 as it glided effortlessly before smashing into the SA-6 launcher. In the aftermath of the attack, signals collection intercepts conferred the site's destruction along with the elimination of 8 Houthi operators. But the US was far from being done. From 2014 to 2015, the Houthis captured 12 to 15 SA-6 launchers from the Yemen. Over the past decade, Iran has substantially assisted them in improving their radars and getting modern seekers installed on the missiles. Because of this, the Houthis now have an extensive stockpile of ordnance they have shown a willingness to use against U.S. aircraft. This could not stand. After the February 20th strike that got revenge against the Invictor launcher, the Navy figured it was time to give the Houthis a permanent reminder of why not to attack U.S. aircraft. Beginning at 6 o'clock p.m. local time, thievers of 4 waves of F-18s took off from the deck of the Harry S. Truman, and these aircraft were armed with something much more powerful than animal. While a typical strike mission like this would call for a 2,000 pounds JDAM or bunker buster, the Navy went hog wild on this. The F-18s that took off that night were armed with the GM-154 joint standoff weapons. The AGM-154 JO is a long-range air-to-air surface weapon that can reach 117 to 130 kilometers if launched at high altitudes, with either a warhead carrying 145 bomb bullets or 192 pounds of explosives. This GPS-guided weapon is a long arm of the law in this region, and that is exactly what it was that night. Between 6 p.m. and 11:30 that night, wave after wave of F-18s made attack runs on storage bunkers near Sauna. And if that wasn't enough, the guided missile destroyer, the USS Gravely, fired 6 Tomahawk missiles at smoldering rubble after it was allowed on. All told, the US destroyed 1 Fakaher M2 ballistic missiles, 3 Maresse 6 launchers, and 23 various Other anti-ship cruise missiles. But while this strike severely degraded Houthis' ability to launch attacks on air and ground targets, this has not destroyed all of their arsenal that will be left for an appetizer's fight. Do you think the US could be doing more to destroy the Houthis' ability to wage war? Bye for now.